Chapter 5. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. The case of Billy's burst bubble. Anyone watching would have had no idea from his words and actions that Billy Bullington was trying to get me to help him. In fact, had it not been for my detective training, I'd never have been able to see through Billy's misguided attempts to be cool. I'd never have realized that he might be ready to solve his social mystery. And it was a mystery that needed to be solved, for everyone's sake. "Hey, Johnny, solve any mysteries lately?" Billy said in a sarcastic voice. "Think you could solve a real social mystery, not some stupid little problem like all the other kids come up with?" I don't usually respond to people when they act like Billy was acting, so I just kept my eyes fixed on the brand new issue of my Mega Man comic. Billy moved closer and grabbed the comic book out of my hand. "How about you solve my mystery and I'll give you back your comic?" He had crossed the line. Not just any line, mind you. He had crossed the Mega Man line. I stood up without saying a word and glared at him. My eyes felt like laser beams, and I could feel the muscles of my face contracting in just the right way to express my anger perfectly. I did not blink or say a word, but my face, body, and laser-like glare were saying loads. Billy placed my magazine back on the table and started talking in a different voice. "So, you gonna help me or what?" he said. "Why would I want to help you when you take my magazine and talk trash to me?" "I'm just joking around, Johnny. Why does everyone always take things so seriously?" "Joking has to be funny to everybody involved. What you usually do is jerking around. You act like a mondo jerk and think it's funny. You think you're just joking, but everyone else just sees you as being mean and sarcastic." "Sarcasm is funny, Johnny," Billy said defensively. "You just don't got no sense of humor." "Sarcasm tries to get a laugh by cutting others down," I replied. "It's what people do who can't get a real laugh." All right, give me a break, will ya? Come on, Johnny, seriously, I need your help." I stared at Billy without saying a word. I was trying to take him in while giving myself some time to let my irritation settle down. Billy Bullington was about as annoying as a kid could get. Everything he did made you not want to help him. But as I looked at this scruffy, slightly disheveled little boy, I could see that there might be something underneath that annoying show he put on that was worth helping. And he really did need my help. Maybe it was just wishful thinking. Maybe it was my overly generous heart. Maybe it was the fact that I could remember my own past and all the clumsy things I did to try and fit in. Maybe it was the rush I was feeling due to the fact that spring break would officially be starting in a few hours. Whatever it was, I decided to hear what this not-so-friendly neighborhood bully man had to say. "So, tell me then, what do you think your mystery is, Billy?" I knew what the problem was. In fact, I could solve this case without getting up from my seat. But I wanted to hear how Billy saw it. Billy's posture slumped for a moment, and his face softened as he thought. It was as if he had stopped acting, stopped pretending. But it was just a flash. Within the blink of an eye, the softening was replaced with the tough guy. "The problem is that kids can't take a joke," he finally said cockily. "I think kids get jealous of me way too much. They get jealous because I'm so funny. And I think they get jealous because, I'm the leader a lot." "You're the leader?" I asked, trying to keep myself from laughing. "I'm always in charge when I'm with the other kids," Billy explained. "They're jealous, and I want you to solve the mystery of why they're so jealous of me." I stared at Billy, speechless. There really was a mystery here. It was the mystery of how Billy could be so absolutely unaware of the social world he lived in. How could he be so unaware of how other people saw him? Just then, the silence was broken by the sound of the bell. "Time for class, Billy," I said. "I'll talk to you later." "So, you're going to take my case, then?" "I'm going to think about it," I said. "And if I do take it, it's $1 a day up front, plus expenses." Billy fumbled with some words, trying to say something, but I started walking away and was immediately swept up in the current of kids moving toward their classes. Saved by the bell, I thought to myself. I needed just some time to think about how I was going to handle this one. How do you help a kid who is so blind to others see him? How do you help a kid like that get a clue? There's the real mystery. I sat down in science class pondering how one gets the blind to see, wondering if this would be the case to finally stump me. I could not imagine anything that would break through to Billy. But just then, as fate would have it, good old Stan up for self sat next to me, and then seeing his face, the answer hit my brain like lightning. "Hey, Johnny," Stan said as he nodded his head and gave me a half smile. It was kind of head nod, half smile combo that was the perfect greeting for letting people know you were happy to see them while still retaining your cool attitude. "Hey, Stan, I got a question for you," I blurted out, still charged with the flash of lightning and the solution that flash had given me to Billy's mystery. I knew that by not allowing the time and space to acknowledge Stan was saying something like, "I'm good, how are you?" I was giving him the message that my question was more important than seeing him was at the moment. People like it when they come first. Fortunately, Stan and I have a good relationship, and there's a lot of history of me showing him that he is important to me. But I still try not to make a habit of that kind of greeting with people who want to stay friends with. It's just not good for keeping friendships strong. Yeah, okay. What's the question, Johnny? Stan said, trying to keep up with my abrupt jump from greeting each other to my questioning him. This may sound strange, Stan, but can I show that video where Billy was harassing you to someone? Are you serious? He asked. I know it probably sounds strange, but I think it could help someone else solve his social mystery. I don't know, Johnny, it's a little embarrassing. Who do you want to show it to? Well, I can't really tell you that. I mean, as a social detective, it's my duty to protect the confidentiality of my clients. But you're asking me if you can break my confidentiality. That video is kind of vulnerable, you know what I mean? This was a tricky situation. I knew the tape could help Billy. If you could see how the other kids saw him, it might help him to realize how jerky he can be. But I couldn't show Billy the video unless I got Stan's permission. That wouldn't be respecting Stan's privacy. At the same time, though, I couldn't tell Stan that Billy was my client without breaking Billy's confidentiality. Tricky indeed. Before I could think of anything to say to Stan, fate stepped in. At just that moment, while Stan was sat there staring at me, waiting for me to say something, Billy burst through the classroom door, walked over to me, and slapped $1 down on my desk. "So, if you don't solve my mystery, do I get that back?" Billy asked. "Go to class, Billy," I said as Mrs. Smith cleared her throat in Billy's direction, saying very clearly, but without words, "You better get out of my class right now, Mr. Bullington." "Go to class," I repeated. All right, I'll talk to you later," Billy said as he turned and walked out the door, intentionally bumping into 3 kids who were walking in. I turned my attention back to Stan. He was in total shock. His mouth was open wide enough to eat a triple-decker burger from the local In-N-Out, and his eyes seemed like they were about to bulge out of his head. The sight was so funny that I started to laugh. But I had to stop myself because I knew that the reason why Stan was making that face had nothing to do with humor. You're helping Billy?" Stan asked. "Please don't tell me it's Billy you want to show the tape to." I didn't say a word. I just smiled. It was a careful smile, but sometimes a smile can mean a lot of different things. It wasn't a "ha-ha, that's funny" smile. That would not have matched the mood of the situation or expressed what I was trying to convey. And it was not the "what's up" half smile we frequently gave each other as part of our cool greeting. This was more of a conspiratorial smile. It was a smile that was letting Stan in on the secret without telling him in words. I didn't tell him directly that it was Billy I wanted to show the tape to. My little smile said it all. And really, it was Billy who had said it, so I didn't have to worry about breaking the detective code of confidentiality. "Why on earth would you want to show Billy that tape?" Stan asked. "So he could laugh at me more? And even if there was some good reason to show it to him, why would I do anything to help that butt-munching Neanderthal? He's one of the worst, obnoxious, despised bullies in our school. And that's the worst part, is that he doesn't even realize how much we despise him." Stan was getting worked up. I could see a freaky-looking vein starting to swell on the side of his head, and little beads of sweat were forming just above his eyebrows. Stan was starting to catch on fire. I needed to find some cool way to cool him down quick, if I were to have any chance of showing Billy that video. But as I tried to figure out how to help him cool down, my mind could only think of one strange, surreal thing. Butt-munching Neanderthal. The words kept repeating in my head. Butt-munching Neanderthal, butt-munching Neanderthal, over and over again. How do you argue with that, especially when it fits so perfectly? I must have had a strange look on my face as I stared speechlessly at Stan. "Well?" Stan said. I exaggerated the somewhat strange look I felt was building on my face. I imagined it was a slightly deranged, confused, and comical look. And I said to Stan in my best questioning voice, the only thing I could think of at the time, "Butt-munching Neanderthal?" He burst into laughter. Then I burst into laughter. Sometimes laughter is a powerful medicine. "Gotta admit, Stan, you do know how to sum things up." Stan relaxed a little. Our laughter seemed to have broken the tension. The truth was, what Stan was saying made sense. Why should he help Billy? I couldn't deny of how much of a jerk Billy was to people. To deny that would not only have been untrue, it would have made Stan angrier than he already was. When people are upset about something, the worst thing you can do is try to talk them out of their feelings. This just makes them angrier. It can make them think you don't understand what they are feeling. Sometimes the best thing is to acknowledge the truth in what they are saying and feeling. I can totally understand why you wouldn't want to help him, Stan. I totally get how frustrating it is that he doesn't realize how much people despise him. But maybe it's time he found out. And I think that with my help and the help of that video, I added, there is a chance of him finally getting the picture. Maybe somehow helping Billy could also help all the other kids that Billy bullies all the time. Kids who are not as capable of standing up for themselves as you are, Stan. Stan stared at me. The freaky vein-popping thing on the side of his head was now completely gone, thank God. As he stared, his face clearly conveyed two things at the same time. It conveyed that he was genuinely disgusted by the mere mention of Billy Bullington's name, and it conveyed the message that he was thinking. I could tell that he was thinking about what I had said. The bell rang, and Mrs. Smith held up her three-dimensional model of the solar system. The Earth takes 24 hours to spin completely around, marking the end of an entire day. 24 hours, I thought to myself. 24 hours from now, I'd be on spring break. Then a full week of school-free heaven will be mine. And in just a few hours, I'll be at Samantha's party, eating cake, and hanging out with my friends. Halfway through class, Stan handed me a note saying, "You can show him the tape if you think it will help." I looked over, gave him the nod half-smile combo, and Stan returned it. I was hopeful that if Billy could see himself and others in a clearer way, he would come to realize what everyone else already seemed to know. Science was always a fun class for me, so the bell rang before I knew it. I walked to the door, calculating the remaining time until spring break officially started. 58 minutes and 30 seconds. I gave myself the smile, head nod combo, but it was no half smile. There was no other kids to try to impress with my cool, casual attitude, so I let a big old toothy grin rip as I walked down the hall. Billy was waiting for me outside the building. "Why so happy, Johnny? You couldn't wait to see me again, is that it?" he said, laughing to himself. Actually, he spent a lot of time laughing to himself, because other kids didn't seem to share his sense of humor. Now that Billy was a client, it made it a little easier not to get so irritated by his obnoxious way of interacting with people. But not so much easier. One of the things I often do when other people's poor social skills get to me is to remind myself of the problems I used to have, and remember that underneath those obnoxious behaviors is someone who is usually struggling and in pain. I think the fact that Billy asked me for help showed that somewhere under his rude exterior, he knew that something wasn't working in his life. The fact that he was able to recognize that he needed help made me able to see that there was some hope for Billy. "Okay, Billy," I said, "here's the deal. I have the solution to your mystery, but there is something I need to get at home to show you." "But don't you have to find clues and all that detective stuff to solve my case?" "Billy, I had your case solved before you even realized you had a case." "What's that supposed to mean? Are you psychic or something?" "Never mind, Billy. I'll explain later. I'll tell you what. Let's meet at 4 o'clock at the park. I have to be somewhere at 5, so let's both try to be on time." "You're going to Samantha's party?" Billy asked. It was always awkward when someone asks if you're going to a party you know they are not invited to. You don't want to lie and say no, but at the same time you don't want to rub it in their face by sounding too excited or focusing on the fact that they were not invited. "Yeah, I'm going," I said in a casual, matter-of-fact voice. "She didn't invite me," Billy said, staring at the ground with a thoughtful, slightly pained expression on his face. I don't think I'd ever seen such a thoughtful look on Billy's face before. It caught me off guard. "Does that bug you?" I asked, hoping to reach beneath the obnoxious social mask he usually wears. His face tightened a little, but did not go back to its usual state. "No, I don't care. Parties are stupid anyway." I flashed on all the times in my past when I missed out on parties or social gatherings and could not understand why. The way I acted when I did not fit in was much different from the way Billy acted. But I knew that underneath his attempts to be tough and cool, he was probably feeling a lot like I used to feel. And that pained look on his face that seemed to come and go for fleeting moments during a conversation convinced me of that even more. "You know, Billy, acknowledging that you do care is going to be a really important part of solving your social mystery and changing things for the better. Trust me on that. Okay?" Billy did not answer, but the lack of an answer was much better than another defensive, "I don't care." So I took that as a good sign. "Okay then," I said in a softer and more compassionate voice than I had used with Billy before. "So I'll meet you at the park at 4 o'clock, okay?" Billy nodded, and we parted ways.